This is the city commission meeting, 6 o'clock for Monday, June the 27th at City Commission Chambers. Roll call, please.
Mayor Litchfield,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya,
Here.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Here.
Commissioner Arias,
Here.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Are there any considerations of changes or deletions to the agenda?
I do not personally have any, no.
Anybody else have any?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya.
Yeah.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes. There's no public comments tonight. So consent agenda is approved by a single motion. Any member of the commission may request an item be transferred to the regular agenda from the consent agenda without discussion or vote. First is the park use permit for the farmer's market and the street closure request for St. Anne's celebration. Do I have entertain a motion to accept these, the consent agenda? Excuse me.
Make a motion to the motion for.
The consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya.
Yes.
Okay, next is ordinances and resolutions. This is ordinance 1164. The first reading, it's an ordinance amending the section 2.04.10 of the Tucumcari Municipal Code, changing the time of the meeting of the mayor and the city commission of the city of Tucumcari, New Mexico. It has been suggested to change the time to either 9 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to talk about this. Any comments? I think we talked about it in the work session and decided we'd have the first reading and then maybe put it out to public, to let the public.
Actually, you have the first reading, then you have the second reading, and it's what, 90 days?
No, I'll have it published.
Today is the first reading, right?
Today is the first reading. I'll publish it next Wednesday, and then it'll be published for 20 days.
And then we have,
And then it'll be the second reading, so I think July 28th would be
uh,
the second reading.
actually, this was established by an ordinance, and that's correct, that would change. I think in 1999, is that correct?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Actually, when it would change because of the request of the citizens of Tucumcari. We used to meet at 10 o'clock on Thursday every week, whether it be 100 years old or 10, 5, it doesn't matter. But at that time, it was brought on by the citizens and the change of the time. So me, it doesn't matter. For me, late time is more accommodating, but at the same time, we also have to look at the fact is we have to accommodate the people. If that's what they feel that not everybody attends commission meetings, and that we understand that. But at the same time, when you have to come before the commission and you want to bring your friends or something in the neighborhood that I have as a subject they want to discuss, it's always better for the afternoon because you don't have to skip work, or also you can also bring your children with you and not have to look for somebody to stay with them. Because they're school, you have to pick them up, whatever. But the whole deal is, I don't see no reason to be in such an emergency or changing the meeting. I think we ought to just give it public through Facebook, give it an opportunity or whatever to make comments. And if they feel it should be at 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think it should be their choice. Because then when they come before us and complain, like they did before, that we have the meetings in the morning so nobody could attend, then they're the ones who make the choice. I don't think it's an emergency to change these meetings. I think we should give a good time for the residents to make comments on what we call Facebook or whatever. The city has a Facebook too, And if nobody answers or says anything, then we can go ahead with the commission. I know the city manager said that he feels that it would be financially more advantage for the city to do it in the daytime rather than at night, because we don't have to have extra personnel, and if we needed something, then we can actually, it's still within hours, we can contact whatever we're working with. But all that is great for the city and everything else, but to be honest with you, we're elected by the people, and therefore it should be their choice if they feel That if they want to put the extra expense to have it in the afternoon, that's their right. And we represent 5 districts, which makes the whole population. Every commissioner represents that constituent district, and therefore, let them put in. And if they feel no comment, then they will change it. But for me, it would be better in the daytime, but I'm willing to do what my constituent wants this afternoon. It's perfectly fine for me.
Commissioner Van Webb, any comments?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Arias?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So Mark, with this, so what would be our avenue for getting this out to the public and getting their input on it?
I think the quickest, easiest, most cost-efficient way is probably going out on Facebook. We can put something on our city website as well. It's just to get the information out there. And again, just take a poll, see if, what kind of feedback we get. Sure it'll be interesting, but.
Adding things to the city, to the water bill, would that be?
That would, we've looked into that before, but that could significantly increase cost of postage and sending things out. So I would be cautious when it comes to that. I could get an estimate and see how much that would cost, but again, the main reason behind wanting to change this time is to be a little bit cost effective. We're about to start talking about budgets and just saving money anywhere we can, paying overtime and comp time for meetings. And again, it's a little bit more productive to be able to have these documents scanned and ready to go to engineers, different contractor in that same working day. So again, this is all based on what's best for productivity, efficiency, and saving money for the city. But again, I'm open to letting the public have their voice. As explained in the work session, we do have some new technology in place now that would allow them still to participate even if they were at home or at work through the internet via GoToMeeting, which we're on right now. They're able to watch and go back and review the meetings on YouTube. So there are some different avenues. But again, I'm willing to do what the commission asks. That way we can get this moving forward.
Okay.
Well, I'm just thinking of, the reason I asked about the water bills, I just thinking, I haven't seen my grandmother walk through these doors and come address the commission yet, but I know she, for one, doesn't have Facebook, she doesn't have access to a website either. So if we're gonna put this out, I really would like to see that go out through the water bills and allow them that opportunity to send it in with their payment. And Helga, you did say that it is, if we pass it tonight, it'd be the first reading. Be posted next Wednesday.
So it's not passing.
It's not
Well,
passing anything.
It's agreed to the first reading.
Right.
Yes, so
Yeah.
it would just allow me to publish.
Publish it to the newspaper, and then 20 days later, we'd have the second.
Which would be the
28th.
28th.
28th, yeah.
Within that time frame, would we hit a bill cycle?
Nope. Commissioner Arias, what's the hurry for it?
Well, there's not a hurry, I'm just wondering, like I said, like, my thing is if we're gonna put it out to some of our older populations that don't utilize these avenues,
I think
then we need to make sure we're within that billing cycle
I'll
as
take
well.
it, but we don't have, we can table this and do it when we get that survey in. It's not a big deal. The city's not gonna go bankrupt over not changing it overnight.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I mean, so if we're not gonna pass that, we're not gonna reach that billing cycle within that 20-day period, then I would want us to wait until we can put it out before the public and then get the answer.
Yeah, and it could do, nowadays you have technology, Facebook, you have everything, easy. It's not like the old days where everything was by mail.
But what he's saying is his grandmother, who is a constituent, doesn't have access to this.
No, and I understand.
So she gets her paper water bill and she'll read it.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not, what I'm saying is there's no hurry, you can delay it and then bring it in.
Do you know what a rough cost would be to add that?
I don't, that's why I said I have to get a cost.
By the way, bills have already started going out for July.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Cherry?
Yes. The whole problem with asking on Facebook or getting, what's your determination? How are you gonna determine if the public's for or against? Are you gonna take, we had 50 against and 3 for doing it or whatever? Because if you do that, you're only gonna get probably the negative comments.
I agree.
And so how many negative comments do we need to have before we say we don't do this? That's the only problem I have. It's not scientific, it's not anything else. I'd rather give the public a chance to come in and voice. And I'm not a proponent of any of them, either way, because I've stated that before. Makes no difference to me if we have it in the morning, afternoon, or night, or whatever. So that's my only comment. We can get the comments, but how are we going to weigh those comments against changing the meetings?
I agree. I believe the proof is in the pudding. If they want to be here, they'd be here. Unfortunately, we have an empty house tonight other than staff and the press, but I mean,
It's different meeting tonight,
Yeah.
too. It's different.
It's a different,
Different day.
too. We have people, okay.
Okay, all right, so,
I would really move to table this until we get the survey in. There's no hurry. I mean, it's not like the city's gonna close if we don't do it. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and table this until we have the studies in, or what Commissioner Audia said, some sort of a feedback.
okay, there's a motion, do I have a second?
I'll say.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry,
No.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Ganova.
Yes.
okay, next on the agenda is Resolution 2022-17, authorizing the application for Airport 8-26 runway improvements with the FAA.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. This is the resolution to apply for our Runway 26 funding for the federal portion of it. This grant is for, we already went out to bid ahead of these things, and we have a bid price. And then we apply to the FAA to go ahead and match that price. This resolution also authorizes the mayor to execute all documents for the application as well too. The amount of funding for this project, the total amount of funding for this improvement is $285,358, with the federal covering $256,822, the state covering $25,682, and the city would only have to come up with a 1%, which is $2,854. So at this time, I'd like to ask for your approval of this resolution.
Do you have any questions on this?
This is basically, because we've already approved everything up to this point, this is already just authorizing the mayor to sign the document.
This actually authorizes us to actually apply to the federal portion of it. Even they do it backwards at the airport, especially for the federal stuff. We actually go out we usually work off the state grant. We get the state grant first, work off of it, and then we'll actually go out to bid. We'll do the design and bid it out. And once we have a bid price, once they know what they're committed to, then we apply to them, and they'll go ahead and match whatever we ask for based on the bid prices. So
One more time, what's the city share of the 1%?
our 1% is only $2,854.
Right here on your.
We typically pay 5%, but we negotiated with the state to pick up our other 3%, or 4%.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to accept Resolution 22-17.
Motion 2022-17.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Ganova,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, next is Resolution 2022-18. It's a resolution of the governing body of the city of Tucumcari establishing revised per diem and mileage rates for city non-salaried public officers, establishing revised per diem and mileage rates for city salaried public employees.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, right. So I would entertain our clerk to read how this will read instead of how we have it right now.
Okay, so prior to the work session, at 5 o'clock, I spoke with, City Attorney Randy Van Vleck. And, it was proposed, by our city manager that we take out section 1, 2, and 3 and just adopt, this resolution with the language stating adopted or published, by the New Mexico per diem and mileage rates. So that is what I'm also recommending, that we delete 1, 2, and 3 and add that language.
Is there any discussion? I think we've discussed it. I would entertain a motion to accept resolution 2022-18 with the new wording as our city clerk read it.
Madam Mayor, so moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya,
Yes.
Commissioner Canova,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Okay, next is resolution 2022-19. It's a resolution amending resolution 2015-07 regarding the procurement process of the municipality pursuant to the requirements of the procurement code, section 13-1-28 through section 13-1-199 as amended.
Yes, ma'am, I'll be presenting that. The only amendment to this procedure by resolution is going to be the small purchases from 1 cent up to $2,500. Previously, it's, you would need a PO for anything $1,000 and up. Right now with inflation, you cannot get anything done. It's slowing down productivity. I feel it's putting more work not only on all across the board from the finance department to the city clerk. The department heads are having to fill out these requisitions for POs, and then it slows up the process for small purchases now. Right now, the threshold for state statute is $10,000. So I'd be open to $2,500. I wouldn't be opposed to anything as far up $3,000 or $4,000. But I think $3,000 or $2,500 would be realistic for the city. Again, it's just, it slows everything down when you're having to wait 2-3 days potentially for small purchases.
Do you have any questions, comments?
I have one there.
Okay.
What is your current spending limit on your card?
On my card, $10,000.
So this, well, I guess for procurement, you'd go through, never mind. Sorry, irrelevant question. My apologies.
Who all has P cards?
The only people that have credit cards throughout the city are myself and Angelica.
Okay. And the state purchasing actually starts at 20 now, doesn't it? Have they changed that?
I think it's 10,000 for a PO to start the PO process, and then after that, our policy, 2,500 as it states in this to 20,000, you have to get multiple quotes. Above 20,000, you have to get 3 quotes. Anything over 60,000 has to be an RFP or formal seal bid.
Yeah.
So you said within a $5,000 range would be sufficient for what we're needing?
Yeah, so right now, I don't believe we have to go to the full $10,000. I don't want there to be unnecessary purchases without it being vetted and going through the proper procurement process, and it helps us be a little bit more competitive. But for these small things, you cannot do anything and make small item purchases realistically for anything underneath $2,000. That's why my initial suggestion was $2,500, but I would be opposed to $3,000 either. It's whatever the commission feels appropriate.
And there's still some oversight over that $3,000 purchase?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Moy, did you have a comment? Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was wondering why we would need it to be 25, then it'd be 2.
2 is very low. I think, again, with state statute being 10,000, we're being really, really protective. With inflation, again, you can't make any small purchase realistically. Any kind of small service is less than 2,000. So I think 2,500 is more than acceptable.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, another quick question.
Oh, okay.
On the resolution, what are we approving? Are we going to approve your procedures here and use it up to 25?
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't say that. It says we're going to follow the state statutes.
Right, but if you look at the next page, the second page of that attachment, there is actually there's a process.
That's what I'm saying, but it doesn't say we're approving the process on the resolution. You see what I'm getting at?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and I'm not against it. I've been a proponent to, make it easier on the more productivity in the departments, not having to go through the procurement process.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. This is how it was before. I'm not sure if we need to
We could add some language. Is there anywhere specifically you added?
Just saying, that we approve the revised purchasing PO and invoice procedures.
Okay.
As presented on this date. I'm sorry, I just,
So we're approving the revised,
So maybe we should just make this an attachment to the commission is hereby approving
the attached.
attached, yeah, attached.
You get the big bucks, that's
Yeah. Okay. So I would entertain a motion to approve the revised.
Yeah, so on the resolution, I'm gonna add, where it says now therefore it be resolved, I'm gonna put by the commission, the city commission of the city of Tucumcari to approve the attached,
Attached, okay,
finance department purchasing of PO and invoice procedures.
okay,
And in here, you already have it at 2,500.
Yes.
Yeah, so moved, Madam Mayor.
okay. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya?
Yeah.
Commissioner Ganova?
Yes.
Commissioner Arias?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield?
Yes. Next is bids and contracts. The Hoover tank change order 1.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is gonna be a little bit complicated on the money wise, but, we have a construction contract with File Construction right now, and constructing the new tank and a portion of the water lines on the Hoover tank system. When we awarded this contract, the prices came in a lot higher than we expected, given that we had to drop out 2 of the bid lots, including one of the well lines and also the transmission line from the new tank. It would have gone from the new tank out to the canal where we had a new crossing constructed already. With the removal of that transmission line, we also tossed out the ability to hook from our new tank to the existing line. We have no mechanism right now. It's a standalone system as it is without this change order. We have $21,000 still on this project left over that wasn't awarded. We also had a allotment for rocky digging on there. We were lucky and we did not have to use all of that. If you'll see down there in line item 20 on the spreadsheet, we were able to deduct 439 cubic yards of rocky digging from the contract for a savings of $66,947. That gave us back almost everything we needed to do this change order, with the exception of $4,623, which we have that original $21,000 left over on the project that'll cover that. So we have the money for this without having to dip into the city funds, and we'll still have $17,000 left over contingency on this project. This change order allows for us to tie in to from the new tank to the existing transmission line, a distance of under 300 feet, plus all the connections and the valvings for that. And it also removes that rocky digging excavation line item so that we can have that money available to cover most of this proposed change order. I'll stand for questions and I ask for your approval.
Any questions?
Just one. Ralph, are you anticipating any other change orders coming forward with this project?
Not as of yet. We never know, but so far everything's going pretty clean. The tank is up. They welded it. Last I heard, they were waiting for the weld inspector to come test it. I don't think they had the roof on it yet. The transmission line, the well line from the one working well is all the way in the ground. It's not completely covered last time I was out there. This change order also allowed, I'm sorry, I omitted some. We also stubbed out a T and a valve, and actually going to tie into the existing line for the second well, which is not functioning right now. It had electrical problems from a lightning strike, if I remember right. I think there's plans by the city to get that well up and running. This change order also allows for that to be tied into the system, because that bid lot was also omitted when we awarded the project. But we have $17,000, and I can't say nothing else will come up, but this covers everything that's known about. So,
Okay. And how far from completion are we?
I haven't seen the percentage. With the tank, we'll still need the finishing, the painting, it's a two-part epoxy and it takes some drying time on it. We're also having a hard time getting, parts for a lot of our stuff. Some of the stuff that was ordered back when we awarded the project, it still has an August deadline. We've got plenty of time in the contract. They've really been knocking it out, but we may just stop and wait. They can't get it online until they get all these other parts. Several things that we can't get. We even almost didn't get pipe. There was a shortage of it at the time when we ordered, and somebody actually bought the one we had scheduled out from underneath us. The supplier let it go to the wrong person or a different person and stuff too, but we're pretty well on track, again, caught up, except for those parts that we can't get. So we may put a work stop on it, but construction time's good, so right now money's good, so. And I don't have a finish date. It's gonna be within the contract time, but a lot further back than we would anticipate.
Thank you.
Does this include what we call the coating inside, what is it called, so the rust when you eat so much? Is that all included?
Yes, sir.
What is
Yeah,
it
it's
called, a glass, or what is it?
It's actually a two-part epoxy. This is a welded steel tank
Mhm.
with a two-part epoxy finish in it, and it's tested very heavily. They go in there and measure the thickness of the paint constantly while they're doing it. They actually have a special inspector that comes in and does that for us, so it should be a good tank.
Because I know that this one's up here on Railroad Avenue when we had to go in and redo, I mean, not when we put them in, we had to then get a bid for the purpose of recoating the insides of the rust when you eat them so fast.
Yeah.
So this is included in this price?
Yeah, this is all, the whole tank is completely taken care of. It's one package, so.
Okay, it's all one package.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to see it before the commission again, where we have to go out and get the coating.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a lifespan, but none of us will see the end of it, hopefully,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Okay, so any more? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve Hoover tank change order number 1.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Hoover tank change order 1.
Do I have a second? Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Second.
Chair.
Commissioner Ganova?
Yes.
Commissioner Arias?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Moya?
Yes.
Next is the application with FAA to fund runways 8 through 26 improvements.
Madam Mayor, this is the agreement that goes with the resolution that you approved earlier. It's quite lengthy, it's pretty thick, as all federal ones are. It's basically the same thing, the same funding, $256,822 federal, $25,682 state, and our share of $2,854, which is 1%. It's the standard FAA agreement. Everything was in order when I reviewed it and stuff, so I'd like to ask for your approval.
Any questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the application with FAA to fund runways 8 through 26 improvements.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Arias?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya?
Yes.
Commissioner Ganova?
Next is the approval of construction contract with DN Tanks.
This is Shreya's project, Mayor, but I'm gonna present it for her, and hopefully I understand it completely. This is the rehab of the concrete tank on 11th Street. They started and got a grant for this project to complete and rehab the existing concrete tank, which is currently out of service. So we can put it in service, so we can get money to rehab the larger steel tank that's up there now. Both of those tanks are very critical they're the ones that give all the pressure to most of the city, the contiguous city here, so that's pretty important to get those going. We were awarded funding, let me see if I can find the funding agency on this one. It's a loan grant, project. I think it's drinking water. The total loan amount is $483,607 for this project, with a principal forgiveness of $362,705, leaving a total to be paid by the city of $120,902. This award is for the amount of $654,259.88. which is over that drinking water amount, but this also has a $200,000 legislative funding for this project as well. It should cover that difference and have a little bit left over. And I apologize, I don't know that exact number. So at this time, I'd like to ask for your approval of this contract
Any
and
questions?
stand for questions.
This tanks over there, they're pretty safe, pretty well kept, but we got a school right next door to it. And, I would hate to ever, any accident happen there.
Yeah, that, where they're at, that would be bad, but as far as we know, they are. I mean, I think that's why the concrete tank was taken out of service originally, is because it did have some leaks in it.
Yeah, because those children are elementary, they're pretty young. And I hate for those tanks to ever have an accident and.
Yes, sir.
Because we had that, what was it, 1920 something, the bus tank down, wiped up everybody out. That's a lot of pressure of water coming down.
Yes, sir.
They're well maintained, well kept.
But no, actually, they need maintenance, and that's what we're trying to do. But, one was taken out of service because it wasn't probably deemed safe, and I know it was leaking. The other one needs maintenance as well, but I think it's structurally sound, but I can't guarantee that,
How do
obviously.
I know we have a person that comes in, floats into it,
Mhm.
goes in and inspects it. How often do we do it?
I think the last one was almost 5 years ago.
Oh my God.
I may be wrong, Mark may know better than I do, but,
Madam Mayor, I could elaborate on those
Okay.
comments. Those tanks, as Ralph had mentioned earlier, they were, the concrete tank was taken out of service. These are inspected annually. We have annual inspection, the environmental department. And we took it upon ourselves to go ahead and drain the concrete tank and take it out of service. We were put on a compliance schedule. We could either remedy the situation or take it out. At the time we chose to go ahead and take it out of service, we did not have the funds at the time to go ahead and rehabilitate it. With this rehabilitation, it'll be safe. They will go through and patch it and make sure that the concrete is suitable. And as far as the steel tank, it is perfectly fine. We have not been notified by NMED needing to take it out of service. We have had divers in there. It has been probably about 5 years ago to inspect the inside. There's sediment in there. Things are minimal, nothing at the point where we should be worried about any kind of failures at this point. Everything is safe and in compliance. And once we're able to get the concrete tank rehabilitated, like Mr. Lopez said, the next step is to go ahead and seek more grant funding to go ahead and remove the sediment from the steel tank and actually repaint it, recoat it. There is some rust on the exterior of the tank, but all in all, it is safe and no issues.
Why can't we have them inspected more than 5 years? I mean, that one, I don't care about the other ones. The other ones are pretty much in flat land. This one's on top of the hill. And then you have the elementary school right there. And I think precaution is good, that we should have it more than 5 years to inspect. Trying to save a couple of dollars can also create a disaster for us. And I think we need to increase the inspection on these things to maybe every 2 years for the purpose of safety. Not because they're in any bad shape or anything, but I think because our children are just less than a block away, we have to really be careful that nothing ever happens. We did have an accident in the 20s that was pretty bad for downtown. Of course, we didn't have the technology we have now. But we certainly, I see them for tanks and busted and they move down. And they do take down because of tremendous pressure. So we should look at possibly going every 2 years inspection.
Any other-
What's the size of the concrete tank?
it's $1 million, I believe, and I think the steel is $2 million.
And the white one is how much, $1 million?
Yes, I believe that's right. Mark may correct me, but I'm pretty sure the concrete tank's $1 million. And I apologize, this is not one of my projects, so I'm just catching up on it. So
Okay, great, thank you.
That's correct. Based on volume, to my recollection, same thing. It's a
Yeah.
2 million and 1 million.
I would entertain a motion to approve the construction contract with D&M Tanks.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the construction contract with DN Tanks.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cherry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb, Commissioner Ganova, Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Okay, next is under new
Thank you.
business is our government relations contract with Clint Harding and Associates.
Yes, ma'am. This was discussed during the work session. During that time, I was trying to explain the importance of being represented not only during the legislative session, which is important, but also throughout the year, throughout different committee meetings, most importantly, the LFC Legislative Finance Committees. This was a negotiated contract from the year previous, before we even entered into an agreement with, for these professional services. They were wanting a little bit more. I was able to negotiate the cost down a little bit, where it comes out to about $1,000 a month plus GRT. There's been some concern I've heard about some conflict of interest, considering that they also represent the county and the college, the community college. I believe it was just this morning's meeting, the county went ahead and renewed their contract with them. I believe there's a lot of things that overlap between the city and the county. For example, the highest priority for the county right now is building a new hospital. Although they're a county entity and we're the city, we're in our own incorporated city limits, that would greatly benefit all of our citizens as well. So there's a lot of times where we do work together and things do overlap, but I think it's the benefit for all, the greater good of not only the city, but the county. But again, in regards to my opinion, when it comes to the scope of work, I think the best bang for our buck, it's a reasonable price, and we're able to get representation and see what's coming out of these LFC committees and different meetings throughout the year, not just during the legislative session.
Commissioner Arias, any questions, comments?
Just a few questions, Mayor, thank you. So Mark, can you refresh my memory? What was our capital outlay request last year?
Our capital outlay request last year was for the Route 66 wastewater improvements.
And we did receive funding for that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what was that amount?
500,000.
500,000?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Cherry,
I have nothing.
Mayor Pro Tem, Moya?
Well, I'm not very happy with them. I'll be the first one to tell you. We had an incident, and I already talked to Mark about it. I talked to the commission about it, and I'm gonna be straightforward with you. I think when we go to this type of lobbying, a lot of it is the connections, what happens up there and what's going up there. I think the city should be wise enough to be able to put it out for bid and see who, and see what kind of lobbyists we can get that will be a little more advantageous towards the city. So I'm telling you right now, I will not support this lobby at this point.
Commissioner Villanueva?
Can you excuse me? Somebody else?
Oh, okay. The only one left is me, so. Okay, well, I've had several phone calls and visited with several of the county commissioners on some other things today. Was told right up front that the city got more money than the county did last year, so we should not say that there was a conflict of interest, blah, 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 anyway. So, but, anyway, that's all I was gonna say on that, so,
Wow, very concerned.
anyway.
They had the same concern in the ambulance.
Anyway, that's I've had several phone calls about this, but I guess I made a comment too, that I thought it was a conflict of interest, and it got back to everybody, and so, anyway,
I'm very blunt.
guess I'm gonna learn to keep my mouth shut. Anyway, I would entertain, do you have anything you want to say? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the government relations contract with Clint Harding and Associates. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'm really glad to make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call please.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb,
No. It's strong no.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yeah.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Next is the extended professional services contract between the city of Tucumcari and New Mexico law, local government law.
Yes, ma'am. Last commission meeting, I believe this is part of the work session. I asked
Oh, that was the contract.
the opinion of the commission, how they wanted to move forward with legal representation for this next upcoming fiscal year.
Mhm.
The current contract we have with NMLGL is a one-year contract, which will expire June 30th in a couple of days,
Ooh, yeah.
with the option to renew, with the option for renewal up to 3 years, based on some of the previous interaction we had, specifically, I think, with the cannabis ordinance we were working on. I know there were some comments from commissioners that maybe there wasn't enough think the best way to say is that maybe the attorney didn't have the most up-to-date information. So that was the concern. Whenever we're working with something, they should be well informed and we should be getting the best representation. So with that being said, I did write a letter to NMLGL letting them know that we would be going out for RFP. If on other, just kind of test the waters for other legal counsel, see what kind of response we got from the RFP. But also, I requested if they'd be willing to sign an extension of the existing contract at least till July 31st. Where by that time, the last meeting of July, we had an opportunity to come into an agreement with whoever the panel chooses at the time for that RFP. I talked to one of the attorneys that works for the law firm today. I've not been able to get a hold of, I guess maybe the key stakeholder in that business, Mr. Randy Audio. I cannot reach him, he's out on vacation. So I did speak to Mr. Van Vleck, and he thought, without speaking to the rest of the partners, it shouldn't be an issue to at least get that extension through the 31st. So at this point, I'd ask for an approval from the commission for that temporary contract just to get us through the 31st until we could go through the RFP process, which is currently advertised right now, and award legal counsel for the upcoming fiscal year. I just want to make sure we didn't lapse in service and we're covered for that one.
Okay, everybody understand that?
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna ask
just a
you.
temporary, yeah, this is a temporary right now.
Just temporary, yes.
Okay,
What's the cost of that 30-day contract?
The same fee structure as it was
Yeah.
with the original. I believe it's $150 an hour.
any other comments, questions?
No.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to extend the professional services contract between the city of Tucumcari and New Mexico local government law, as temporary till July 31st.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the extension.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yep.
Commissioner Ganova.
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes. Next is city manager's report.
Yes, ma'am, this was a short week for me in the office. The only thing I have from our report, I wanted to update the commission on the great conference I went to last Wednesday through Friday. I had the chance to go to the New Mexico City Manager Association meeting. Brought back a lot of knowledge, a lot of great ideas. It was a great refresher, I think, to bring back some of those ideas to the city. Some of those I've shared with a few of the commissioners already, and I'd like to really elaborate on those in the future. For example, one of the breakout sessions was with the parliamentarian, just on conducting business at commission meetings and how it could save time. They gave an example where one entity was taking almost 6 hours at a meeting, and they were able to cut that down to an hour and a half. By cutting out the fluff, going over the laws, the legalities, and it's something that's really, really productive, and I'd like to look at the possibility of bringing that same individual here for training someday, just to refresh the commission on some of the Open Meetings Act rules and laws. Some other things that we're able to talk about is upcoming goals and priorities for next legislative session already. Some of these tough bills that are going to be affecting us local municipalities. Sometimes these bills affect large and small municipalities in different ways. Some may be positive for one and negative for another. So I think it was really good networking as well. I was able to spend some quality time with the Municipal League Executive Director. It was very beneficial. There were so many different breakout sessions speaking about lodger's tax, different ways to increase those things with the eligibilities. Great conference overall, and I really plan to implement some of those things here internally with the city and help us strive and be the best that we can be.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next are items from commissioners. Commissioner Dan Webb, you want to start?
It's, I know we're shorthanded about potholing. How about this, help that we got for the summer, can they actually do it or not?
No, sir. If you're referencing the YCC individuals, it's very strict based on the contract we signed with the state. They are not allowed to take over duties of day-to-day employees. They have a strict scope of work that they must follow. Those grants are approved in a manner that you have your scopes of jobs. So task one, they may be doing the new sprinkler at the cemetery. Task two, they have to do this, but anything out of that scope is not allowable. The only thing you can have is a backup plan in the case of inclement weather, if it's raining outside. I know two different options they used to do previously when I was helping manage that grant was go to the library and study up on work skills for the job, the workforce. Another, when they were getting college credit, they were able to go to the college and maybe study over there, do things of that nature. But other than that, and what's listed in their scope for the tasks, they cannot conduct any of the other items, typical city work. And there's also child labor laws that if the majority of these individuals may be underneath, say the age 15 to 16 years old, and they cannot operate or be around certain heavy equipment, even climb ladders for that example, I guess. But so to answer the question, no, sir, they cannot fill potholes.
Another thing, when are we going to actually start advertising the job openings?
We've been advertising job openings. Those that have expired, we've actually have a process internally where there's a form that goes to the department head. They fill out the need to advertise in the newspaper, online, etc. That then goes to our HR director. The HR director then gets it to me. I sign off. As city manager, they have to make sure they have money in that line item for advertising. And again, with the transition from a contracted HR director to actually someone that we've hired now, that process was slow, but I'm working with that individual and we're getting them out there. And I've actually seen them on Facebook as well, but we are getting those jobs.
And it's on the website too.
And on the website.
It is, I've seen them on the website, so,
Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
yeah.
Another question. Do we have actually a custodian that will work around the city offices?
We do not have any janitorial services. The previous janitor is no longer working with the city. One option is potentially utilizing the facilities maintenance personnel right now. And we have done that on a few occasions for the commission chambers as well as the restrooms here in City Hall. But as of right now, we do not have it in the budget to have custodial services. At one
I'm not
point,
lying to you, the front lawn looks bad. Them nuts and all that need to be raked up.
that is Parks and Recreation that handles that. Typically, that's by work order, or if they're here, they usually typically do a good job. There's some things that I want to address now that I'm back in the office in regards to sprinklers and watering and making things look good and greening them up. Just yard maintenance, but that's something typically that Parks and Rec handled in the past.
That's it, really. I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Be safe out there.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Williams?
Okay, first, there was a complaint to me about, and we got the street right. I guess what happened is there's been a Chinese elm growing in the middle of, not in the middle, but on the edge of the paving of the street, and it's on 7th and Noble. And I think what's happening, people are getting, what do you call, high center, whatever, when you hit the car on it, you know. And what has happened is they caught the top of the tree, but now it has become a big old whole bunch of trees that it seems like when they turn into Noble from 7th, it's a dead end. They tend to hit it, and they were complaining about it, the lady who lives nearby there. Noble and 7th. That's where they, I guess what we have to do is just send the city crew to pull it out, I guess. I'm probably going to destroy some of the paving, but it's pretty big. It's not small. And you got to be blind not to see it. But I am blind, I hear it. The next item on the agenda is we have talked about at-will situation. We had a work session at this for department heads. And what I sensed in that work session was that the commission seems to be interest in seeing that at will brought back in. Yes, we are a state at will, but that's a different at will than what we're looking at department heads. So I would like to not allow it to die. I think we need to bring it back up and see when are we gonna work on this, when you're gonna bring us some information that how we can do the ordinance on it. And this is what the commission expressed that day at the work session. I know you have your option against it, but the whole deal is, this is what the commission desires, and I think we need to look at it. And we used to have it in the past, and I think it's still an ordinance, isn't it, Suzanne?
I'm not sure if it is. Didn't we look that up, the at-will? Didn't we look up that ordinance about the at-will employees?
And so we talked about it being repealed, some of them being repealed in ordinance.
Right.
Honestly, it was 932, the same one.
Yes, they had, so they had to report that it was 932 as well.
Right, but it's still on certain
Right.
department heads.
It's still, yeah,
It still is?
yes.
I need to see a copy of it, because let's review it. I think we need to review it.
Yeah, we all need
Can you
a
put it
copy.
on a work session
Okay.
to go over it?
It's on the
Get that to me
website.
ahead of time.
It's on the website.
Yeah, but I don't go to website, so can you get me a copy?
No, I was just saying, just.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we need to address that, because we need to see what departments we're looking at, because I also like to see other areas,
What number was that ordinance?
932.
932, and then we'll go over it and see who is at will, who isn't.
Okay.
And hopefully be effective as it is, We also are very happy to know that we have winded up with about 6 applications for city managers, and I'd like to see how soon we could get, my fellow commissioners, how soon we can start interviewing. I will make my calendar available for whatever the commission wants to make sure that we get this position filled and ready to go forward with it. So for me, it would be great if we could even start next week. We need to get this position filled. It's important. Mark has done a good job, but also Mark is fed up with it and he wants out. So
I would disagree with that, I would not say that.
Oh, you disagree? You haven't done a good job? Okay.
No,
No, that I'm fed up with it.
That he's fed up
Oh,
with it.
I thought that maybe you disagree that you haven't done a good job. I didn't know. But anyway, you did mention to me that you were tired of it. Anyway, so we need to get it as soon as possible. What's the census among the commission, do you think, next week?
Well, let's get through the 4th of July, because that's, I would say let's start talking about maybe the week of the 11th to start some interviews.
Well, maybe so, but you know what? My priority is getting a budget done.
Yeah, we do need the
Well, the bottom
budget.
line, I don't think we're gonna get that priority.
Well, it's gotta be done, and I really.
I know it
like-
does.
we're gonna have to
Yeah,
spend
we've
some
got to
time
have a
on that.
budget.
But we can also neglect the fact that we have to interview.
Yeah.
My concept is as soon as possible. I don't know, how about you, Commissioner Hayes?
I do agree, we do need to look at this and get it going. I would agree with the mayor's assessment with 4th of July week coming up. At least maybe by the end of that week, early the 11th. But we definitely need to be,
Yeah, and by then, the city, whoever is the personnel person, can set them all off, ready to go, so we can get it done.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's pretty good. Consensus is-
but also, yes, we do need to focus on the budget as well. So I mean, I am looking forward to visiting with the 4 of you very much often this next month.
Right.
But remember, we have a contract with Mr. Martinez for 90 days.
Yes.
And we certainly don't want to exceed that 90 days again. We already exceeded once.
Madam Mayor, since we were on the topic of budget, I wanted to bring that up real quick. Before I left to Rio Rochelle, and I worked on the personnel portion of that budget, quite lengthy. It's not ready. We didn't want to present something today that was half put together. We want to show the relation to the overall budget. That way, it gives the commission time to review the documentation and make a good decision, seeing the whole picture, not just a piece of it. With that being said, July 14th is our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Right.
We wanted Rochelle and I to request if we could have at least 2 hours of a work session to discuss the budget that day. We need to sit down and really go over that lengthy. I imagine the next couple of weeks, that's all we're going to be doing is really fine tuning it, giving you all options and discussing those options on the 14th with an assumption of having some kind of special meeting, potentially the 21st, the Thursday after that. That way we could take any comments from the 14th and implement those into the budget if need be, and making a final decision to adopt a final budget on July 28th.
Okay,
As long as we get the budget ahead of time, so we can study it. I hate things given to me
so
before.
on the 14th, we're gonna we'll get a copy of the budget.
Yes, it'll be a lengthy work session.
So on the 14th, what time should we start the work session?
I would imagine,
3.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, okay.
Okay, so we will get the budget ahead of schedule so we can study it before the 14th.
Yes.
Okay,
I want to thank the commission for giving it a little more chance on the right to the public to have comment on changing the meetings. If it happens that no comments, then we go along and change it. If there's comments, we'll keep it as it is. So that was good of the commission to give the public their voice to voice it, because it's important, because that's why we changed it to nights, because of the fact that some residents that felt that they were not able to attend due to the fact that it was in the daytime for their work. So to get those comments, I'm looking forward to it. The other thing is, anything on the infrastructure of the streets, anywhere we can find any kind of money to get it, they are getting worse. I mean, a lot of it is I travel the same routes, but once in a while I do get out into a different portion of the community, and I see that we're going to have to do something, and we have to keep up things, and I don't know how we're going to be able to come around to getting it done, but they are getting, and then when you get rain, they seem like what we patch comes off, and so I know it's a catch-22, but Ralph, I see you do beautiful with the airport. Anything you can do for the grants and anything for the streets?
Yes, sir. I have about $13 million in grants working right now,
Great.
and only about a third of that is airport stuff. So I have 2 big street jobs coming up. So
is one of them in front of Dunn's Funeral Home?
No, that's
no, see, that 3rd Street has the same problem the 2nd Street does. It's got concrete underlay there, and we've kind of stayed after we got out of 2nd Street. We kind of cut and run. And 3rd Street would be the same way. It wouldn't have to be done to the level that 2nd Street was done because of the great blocks, but it would be so expensive there. It'd take $1.5 million to do a block and a half there. So we may have to look for something, kind of a patch for that one, or a mill and overlay or something to just help that. But yeah, the money just doesn't go very far.
Anything on the Fed's gate from what is it called? What was that funding that came down from the state that we were supposed to tap into? What was it?
I've just applied for a transportation project fund. I'm not sure what other one you'd be talking about.
After the corona.
There's ARPA funds and SLRF funds. There is some money available for streets. The majority of that's coming down. That was another thing that we discussed at the conference, was the majority of their funding now is water and wastewater, which is good because we have about a 1.5 million shortfall for a wastewater project. And I just received the quote to start working on the landfill, and it was upwards of $200,000 for the engineering. So that's something we need to be aware of. One thing that Municipal League is doing, they're trying to assist the municipalities by providing grant training and different grant writers. Another thing, I came back with the idea I'd like to do, I'm huge on training. I'd like to get our department heads trained to relieve some of community development, have community development assist. But with all this free grant training, I'd like to see each and every one of our department heads go out and attend those trainings. The consensus of the different municipalities that were there, large or small, their department heads are getting involved in how writing grants for their own departments with all this federal money coming down. So that's something I really want to implement, to get our department heads trained to write grants. To write grants.
So, department heads, aren't they short staff already as it is?
Yes, sir. But we all gotta come together and do something to make this town better. We have to all do it as a team.
Well, I understand that. But somebody has to do the work too. Okay, that's about all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Cherry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mark, this trainer for like commission training, you have a name?
I want to say Adam, but I don't want to misspeak. I have the agenda.
That's all right. I think it's a good idea that you get that done. And then budget documents as soon as possible also. And Madam Mayor and Commissioners, let you know that I did attend the municipal league policy meetings on Saturday. It was late notification or whatever, so I sat on the public safety and presented the, hopefully, to change EMS funding and increase EMS funding. It's something the Fire Chiefs Association is going to do, so I did get to present that and came up with the highest priority in our committees.
Good.
I think that's all I have.
I also voiced a concern at the conference with AJ to discuss the importance and how that could benefit us if that EMS fund was increased and help us locally. And this week, I'll be working with the interim fire chief as well as with Rochelle to make sure we have all the information needed for a survey that went out. That way we can make sure we can try to help ourselves out.
And to reinforce that, that survey didn't go to everybody. They handpicked, yeah, so.
Commissioner Arias?
Thank you, Mayor. Mark, thank you for representing June County at your Managers Association conference. I'm sure that you pulled some good information out, and I'm glad that you're bringing that back and trying to get that reapplied. Mike, thanks for representing us for this week. Mayor, I don't have any other comments other than have a happy, safe 4th of July.
I'd like to thank Linda Gonzalez at the library. She's doing just some fantastic things, and I wished I had noticed on the schedule. I'd have gone down and liked to have seen the Hawaiian dancers that were down there. But she's doing a great job, so thank you very much, Linda, for all your hard work at the library. Also, I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy 4th of July, and please keep in mind our animals that don't like the fireworks,
Yes.
our veterans that don't care for the fireworks, and even some of our elderly people that it bothers. So please be courteous when you're shooting them off. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Commissioner Canova?
Yes.
Commissioner Arias?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb?
Yes.
See you next week sometime, probably. Knowing our luck. 3 meetings in June. Oh my goodness, look at Ralph.